A side, B side, what side are you on?
Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of A Side B Side podcast. What's going on, Adam?
Not too much. How are you, bro?
Good. I finally allowed myself to watch the last episode of Ted Lasso.
Oh, yeah, I'm still behind. So I've seen a lot of the reaction and a lot of like people wanting more
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
asking, is this the end? But I have not seen the last episode yet. So I'm caught in this like rock in a hard place. I've enjoyed watching it with my parents, but I'm also not going to see my parents until later this month, and then we'll have a bunch of family there, so I'll watch the show. And I don't think they would really notice if I watched ahead.
I think they might.
But I also like I don't know that they would even like they might just forget about it and not watch it ever again unless I reminded them. But I really enjoy watching it with them. So I'm caught in this sort of like no man's zone where I think I could go ahead and watch it if I wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
but I also think I would feel bad.
Well, just know that a very good ending is heading your way. There are rumors, and I won't tell you what the rumors are, but there are rumors. I mean, like, I'll tell you what the rumors, but not who's involved. But there are
Yeah,
rumors of a spinoff.
yeah. I've heard that there's rumors of a spinoff with like some of the minor characters or like a women's team, and that would be really cool. I actually think that would be brilliant because I think perhaps Ted Lasso has not done as much for soccer in the U.S. as I wish, as I hope it has. But I also feel like it's made it more accessible. And if it could also do that for women's soccer, which quite frankly needs way more, like even in Europe, like the women's Premier League only has 12 teams instead of 20.
Mm-hmm.
And
Let's get it right. If you're going to refer to it, it's football.
football, you're right. You're right. I'm trying to straddle that medium between oceans so I can be understood by both. I do not have that much of a what is it like standing reach with your arms? Like it's a standing stride with your legs?
I have no idea what you're referring to.
You know, like when you hold your arms out to the side in basketball, they'll often like measure this for draft
Oh,
picks and be like,
yeah.
oh, he's got a standing like reach from
His
side to side of
wingspan.
like a
His wingspan.
wingspan. What do we call it when it's just your legs? Like and you're trying to straddle something.
Ah, that's a good question.
Is it your leg span?
Good question. Good question. Have you seen anything good?
I've watched a lot of the same stuff, to be honest. I've just restarted Leverage and Murder She Wrote again, because they make me happy. Which it should be concerning that two of the things that make me feel comfort are murder mysteries. I mean, I guess it was destined that I would then be on a true crime podcast at some point because I grew up watching those. But
Hmm.
uh, it's very nice to have a show that I enjoy as much as those shows. They could just kind of get thrown at any time. So I have started a new show that I stumbled upon because of watching another one of my old school shows, which was Leverage and the reboot Leverage Redemption. And then because of that, Freebie recommended another show, which is actually the A side today. So I don't want to get too far into that. But uh, yeah, just pretty much watching old stuff. Haven't gone to a movie, haven't watched anything new. The season finale of NCIS, I kind of see where they went. They tried for two different cliffhangers. I don't love the cliffhanger that they decided on because it doesn't feel in character. It feels forced, and that's a little disappointing.
Oh, darn. All right.
Yeah, who
Well,
knew Wilder Valderrama was going to be the like emotional leverage point of the entire season of NCIS, but he clearly has this last two seasons really.
I forgot he was even on there, but I don't watch it, so I can't. I guess I can't say I really
Yeah,
forgot.
it threw me off still because it's Fez from that '70s show,
Yeah, yeah.
and he plays a very like he's like this guy who's been undercover a lot, and he's got like a lot of like dark secrets, and but you're also like this is like the happiest dude ever.
Right. This
in
was
the
Fez.
role I originally saw. Yeah, he just wants to smile the entire time. That dated Mandy Moore for a while, which was weird.
Oh yeah, that did happen, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, he
Hmm.
dated like he was on
He was the Pete
the
Davidson back in the day, really.
yeah,
You know, if
he
there was
was.
a, I mean, in terms of dating, like if there was a hot young actress, he dated her.
Yeah, he did, and it was very weird at the time because we're all like, wait a second, like you're just that guy from that '70s show. Like, yeah, you definitely got a lot handsomer than you were on the '70s show. But
Well, I think a lot of that too was, you know, the wardrobe and stuff.
yeah, they definitely made him look ridiculous.
Yes.
Which I mean, again, you look back at it and you're like, this was a thing that we thought was funny, but also, it's pretty racist.
Yeah, I mean, again, yes. Yeah,
I mean,
especially like
timing is
his
everything.
name
Yeah,
is his name is Fez, foreign exchange
for
student.
exchange too. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and in a way, that's kind of brilliant because it just like points out it's really more making fun of the people that are hosting him, but also like, I don't know, it's any better.
Right. Yeah. So it is pretty ooh. But I guess is
Yeah,
it one of those things you look at it in the lens of when it was created? I don't know.
I think you have to, but even then they were like poking fun at because that show came out in the '90s and the show was set in the '70s, so they were poking fun at like the cultural time of the '70s in many ways, shapes, or forms. But
Hmm. Hmm.
you also wonder, I don't think that really fly anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm also like watching Murder She Wrote, and even like Longmire, which is at this point like we're like 10, 12 years from like the first season of Longmire, which I think came out in 2011 and it went to 2017. Like even 12 years, you're like, I don't know if this would fly in this current environment, or especially if you go look back at that '70s show. It was, at this point, we're looking at like 25 years ago. Like that '70s show is as old as Happy Days was when I was in high school.
Oh wow. Wow, when you put it like that, woo.
Yeah, right.
Hmm.
It changes perception a little.
I'm trying to think if I've started anything new. I did. I started oh goodness, it's on HBO. It's the cure the Curious Case of Natalia Grace, I think is the name of it. Um
Okay.
and this is a story that is still kind of confounding people because what is fact and what is fiction. So there's this family that ends up adopting an orphan from the Ukraine at like 6 years
Mm-hmm.
old. And when they get her home, things just don't seem to add up. Not only is she an orphan, she also has special needs. She's got several issues. Like she's a little person, but she's also got this like really rare, I don't want to say disease, it's just a really rare situation that causes her to seem even, I think, even smaller.
Okay. Hmm.
So they get Natalia home and just things are just not what they seem like. She comes across as maybe a bit older than she should be. She's
Hmm.
also very threatening to the family. So the family, I mean, like I said, it's been documented in several different shows, but the family ends up like trying to trace her roots, and come to find out, they say that they obtain a birth certificate and she's actually way older than she's pretending to be. And
Oh.
yeah, it's a whole like, you're like, wow, what is happening here? So started that on HBO. Hulu has Cruel Summer, the second season. If
Mm-hmm.
you watch the first season, it's basically like a crime happens and you follow it over 3 years, but it's all meshed into one. And the way you can tell the year is by kind of the lighting of the set and like maybe the wardrobe. So I think the first year happened in like 19, the same, like the same time frame, like June
Mm-hmm.
15th through 17th of 88 or 98, 99, and 2000 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so this is this is the same premise, but the length of time is much shorter. So it's like 6 months in between instead of like a year in between.
I mean, meanwhile, I have clothes in my closet from June of 29, 2000, or was it 1999? So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure I do too. Goodness gracious.
it's like, geez, that doesn't seem that long ago. Then you're like, yeah, no, it really was.
No, actually, I think I've done a pretty good of recycling through my clothes, but I mean, I'm not saying that they're not some that are pretty old, but
I mean, I know I've got one shirt at least because when I worked at Red Lobster my senior year of high school as a bartender, we had these ridiculous like fish shirts that were like Hawaiian shirts but with fish.
mhm.
And so I still have one of those for some inexplicable reason.
The
That's
other thing
25 years.
the other thing I actually started this because of an interview that I did at work, but I think I'm gonna keep watching it. It's called Secrets in Sisterhood, the Shazadas, and it's 10 Muslim American sisters, all biologically related,
Okay.
that grew up in the same house. 10 women, actually 11 because they're mom, but they're, like I said, 10 biological sisters. And it's kind of, they're dubbing it the new Kardashians, which I didn't ever really watch the Kardashians, but they're all professional, and so they're all kind of straddling the Western culture with their Middle Eastern culture. And some
Mhm.
were born here, most were born here, some were born there, and they're trying to live within the traditional but also Western culture. And there's some bombshells that are
So
dropped on the first episode.
and this no, okay, I guess this is not the right, this is something else. I
What?
found Secrets of the Sisterhood from 2019.
No, 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 no. This just came out on Hulu today. There's 10 episodes.
Okay.
It's
So
Secrets and Sisterhood.
Secrets and Sisterhood. Gotcha. Okay. Because I was like, wow, has this been like, because the Rotten Tomatoes makes it look like it's like Secrets of the Sisterhood, like Mormon edition, the first
Oh
season,
no.
but no, it's just a bunch of white ladies.
So yeah, but that's what I got going on this week.
So it's on Hulu, The Secrets and Sisterhood,
Hmm.
and then the other one you've been watching is on the new. You've got the new HBO. It's not HBO Max anymore. It's
It's
just
just
Max.
Max. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's just Max.
just Max. I don't really get why it would do that, but whatever.
Yeah, it's weird, but whatever. As long as my app works, I'm good. I'm cool.
Yeah, who
Of
cares what you
course,
call it? Just feed me the content.
right. But of course, I did get my email from Netflix. They have started the whole password sharing thing, which, a lot of people are still very upset with. But if someone outside of your household uses the account, you can add them onto your account, and you pay like $8 per person. And depending on your account, you can only have up to 2 extra people.
So, but are they going to like remind me that there are people logged in, or am I just going to suddenly get charged more because I
No,
have?
you have to add them though, so they'll remind
Okay,
you.
okay,
Yeah,
good.
you have
Because
to
like I
add
said, I
them.
have people using my password at various locations. I think so.
Well, then they're not using it because you would have gotten the email that said, "Hey, don't forget, your password is for people in your house." Because
Uh,
basically what they want you to do is you're on the same account, but everyone has their own profile and password.
yeah, I mean that. I've had profile and passwords for the kids for years on
No,
Netflix.
but you all have shared the same password. What I'm saying is they're going to set it's going to actually be like a separate account. You're just
Oh,
paying for
gotcha.
it.
So that they'll have to log in instead of logging in with one name, then picking which profile, which we've done
Right.
for years.
Right.
Gotcha. It'll be a whole separate log.
So like when I log in, I still see all the profiles, but they're only supposed to be accessed by people in my house. So like
Gotcha.
my
And then
mom is supposed to have her own complete separate profile now. My daughter is supposed to have her own separate complete profile now. When they log in, they're not supposed to see my stuff at all, and I'm not supposed to see theirs.
and they must be doing that by
I'm sure
VPN or
IP
something.
address, yeah, VPN,
IP
IP
address,
address,
yeah.
yeah.
I understand why they're trying it, but it's also like when you got a cable subscription and it was just in your house, it didn't matter who watched it as long
Mm-hmm.
as you were in your house. And now part of the benefit of streaming is you don't have to be in your house to watch it.
Right.
But they're still tying the like when I travel on YouTube TV, they'll be like, "Oh, you're not where you're supposed to be," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm traveling."
Mm-hmm.
But if I do it so often, they're like, "We don't believe you." I'm like, "Okay, well, what? That's the reason I have this streaming service is that I can watch it anywhere." And now you're being like, "Hey, you can't watch it anywhere."
Yeah. And like the thing is, I was paying already. I was paying the top tier for 4 separate accounts to in like the HD and all this, and it's like, ugh, come on, really?
It really feels like they're trying to solve a problem that really isn't as big a problem as they think it is.
Yeah.
But like somebody on the board was like, "You know what? We have so many people sharing their accounts, so we make them all pay. We'll make way more money." I'm like, "But will we though?"
It's
Like,
frustrating, but what are you gonna do? We all complain and we're like, no, 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 how dare you? But yet we're all still using it. So
yeah, I mean, like I'll still use it. I just don't. It feels like they put so much time and energy in this. I mean, it must. There must be some metric that they think it's going to be worth it.
yeah,
But when you look at like the negative blowback and like all the negative press they're getting, it's like, was this really worth it
right. Yeah.
for like another $6.99 a month? Like my kids have profiles on my account, but they don't watch Netflix enough to care, so they just don't watch Netflix.
Right. And that's one report I read said that like a lot of like the younger generation, like Gen Z and stuff, they're just like, okay, fine, I just won't watch anymore. And so it
Yeah,
could end up backfiring, but we'll have to wait and see.
it feels a little bit like shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic, but like if that's the way you're going to save your business model is less like creating good content and suddenly try and find ways to nickel and dime people, then you're already kind of behind the eight ball.
Yeah.
But
We'll just have to wait and see
anyway,
what happens. But so this week is episode 138, which means you get to go first.
excellent. And as I mentioned, I have been watching a lot of stuff that I've already watched before, which means that streaming services then suggest to me things that are connected to those series that I may not have watched before. And I stumbled upon a series this last week that I've started watching that came out in 2020. And it fell victim to a lot of the same problems that happened to any shows that came out in the 2019-2020 like entertainment year, in that they may have come out, they may have been filmed ahead of time, but as soon as COVID hit that summer, no one was recording season 2. And even if they were, it was they waited until the end. They certainly were finding ways to avoid just series sitting on the shelves and not being able to do anything about it. And one of those series was named Almost Paradise. It came out in 2020. It is according to Wikipedia, they call it an American Filipino crime drama produced by Dean Devlin and Garrett Rosen. And Dean Devlin, you may notice if you grew up like me in the mid to late 90s and you knew Independence Day and then all of the TNT and sci-fi related shows that he has gone on to produce. And of course, this one has a connection to a lot of those TNT series before. It is a series that focuses on a retired DEA agent, Alex Walker, who was forced into retirement. He moves to the island of Cebu in the Philippines, purchases a hotel gift shop in the hopes of managing his stress and high blood pressure. But, of course, he can't stop solving crimes and gets involved with the local police department to help the community. It has sort of a Death in Paradise vibe, which was the BBC series where you had a fish out of water, like a British detective, end up in a Caribbean country trying to find his way, but a little less, fish out of water and a little bit more disgruntled hero. And it stars one of my favorite that guy from that shows, except he's never felt like he's in so much that he didn't feel like that guy from that show,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes that guy from that show has to be like the background character or a supporting character, and he's been a lead in so many shows and people would recognize his face immediately. And of course, that is Christian Kane, who is the lead of Almost Paradise and was in Angel the original Leverage series, and of course the reboot Leverage Redemption, which is on Freevee. The Librarians. He has his own country music career, which was alluded to in several episodes of Leverage, where he would go undercover as a country artist. And they pretend that like, what is he doing? He's just the assassin, but he's actually quite talented with music, and so they were able to leverage that as well.
I see what you did there. Leverage.
I didn't even mean to. I'm pretty sure that the only reason that this show got recommended to me is because I've been watching the Leverage Redemption series, and Freevee, which is becoming one of my favorite streaming services, mostly because one, it's free, and especially if you have IMDb or if you have Amazon, just log in with your Amazon account, it links to everything because it's owned by Amazon. But it has a lot of these older shows that used to be on Hulu or Netflix or even Amazon Prime, which now all of those services are so focused on their original content they need to get out there and basically get paid for, that they're not buying the rights to any of these old shows. And and Almost Paradise kind of fell into that donut hole where it came out in 2020. 10 episodes were released. It was on WGN America, which is now no longer a station. It's now like News Source or something, or News Now. It's one of those many basic cable channels that disappeared, which is kind of a bummer because I used to love WGN. WGN used to be like on par with TNT and TBS.
Wasn't that a big Chicago station?
It was the Chicago station, and TNT and TBS were like out of Atlanta, and the TNT and TBS always had the Braves games on, and WGN was famous for having Cubs games on. So when you were a kid without like the baseball package, or even without like expensive, cable, basic cable, you could still watch Cubs games on WGN all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they even got into like the early 2000s, started making their own content, and eventually, I think by the late 2010s, they just realized they can't compete anymore and ended up turning into a news channel because news gets great ratings and also has zero production value. You can just make stuff up and put it on TV, and then sometimes you get sued. Most of the time you don't. So people just tune in on news. So it makes a lot more sense. But Christian Kane, I did not even realize he was on Angel. I'm sure that Brooke, that you did.
100% knew he was on Angel.
Yeah, because you were a huge Buffy and Angel guy. But for me, I discovered him on Leverage.
I'm not a guy, but yes, I'm a big Buffy.
I meant it in that non-gender specific sort of way that white guys do when they say things incorrectly.
Okay.
But this felt like, and even there are a couple of interviews that will be listed on our website, A-Side, B-Side podcast.square.site, with Christian Kane talking about this role. And it feels very much like a culmination of all of these other supporting roles, where this is the first time that he really gets to be the lead. He's been the supporting character in so many shows, and this is the first time that he really gets to be the guy. And it's got a bit of like a Burn Notice feel to it, a little bit of White Collar, of Leverage, of that same Dean Devlin style, basic cable in the early or late aughts, early 2010s. But it's just enjoyable. It's fun. He does a great job. He is a eminently likable character in all of his supporting roles, and it feels really good that he finally got this chance. It feels really sucky that it happened in the middle of a global pandemic, and that they obviously did not renew it for a season 2 because no one was filming in the summer of 2020, and so they couldn't. There have been rumors since Freevee bought it this time last year. Amazon Freevee purchased the series and now has it on their Freevee platform, that they were going to do a season 2, but nothing that I can find online has anything that has come out within the last 11 months. This time last year, people were saying, yes, they're going to do season 2. I've heard nothing since that it was going to get renewed. But if you are like me and you love murder mysteries, whether that is Midsummer Murders or Murder, She Wrote, or any of the procedural police dramas, Almost Paradise, starring Christian Kane, is a great sit down, 10 episodes worth of just relax and enjoy something you can put on. You're not going to feel like you're going to get browbeaten. It's interesting enough that it's going to hold your attention. It's not going to, bore you. And it's a lot of fun. And if you've liked his characters from Leverage or Angel or The Librarians, it's kind of that same style. A little bit of that Indiana Jones sort of wit, but also like unconventional action. And it's a lot of fun. So Christian Kane and his show Almost Paradise are today's B-side, but he's also today's that guy from that show. And one of the fun parts is that Christian Kane himself has had a very varied career. He's been active since 2007. I'm sorry, 1997, which was my sophomore year in high school. So a long time. He's had 2 country music albums that have been released. He charted all the way up to number 25 on the Billboard Country Music charts back in 2010. He is of Cherokee descent, which I did not realize, which is kind of fun, in that his parents were also in rodeo and met in the rodeo and fell in love in the rodeo. So for him, my first rodeo is not a thing that you can ever say, because he was literally probably conceived at such a place. But he is a very interesting guy. He's from Texas. He went to University of Oklahoma to study art history and then turned into an actor. He's had a very successful TV, and then showed up at some movies now and there, like as supporting characters. Whether it was movies like Just Married, Taxi, and Lions, not big names, never a lead. And to me, it's the biggest bummer is that he finally got his opportunity to have the lead in a show or a movie, and it happened right at COVID. And because of that, it just didn't take off. And if you have enjoyed his performances in any of the things you've seen him before, you will enjoy Almost Paradise. And it is bittersweet to watch a series of 10 episodes and want more, because who knows if it's coming. But if you missed it like I did, because I completely missed it the first time, there was a lot going on in the world in March of 2020 when this came out. It came out, I think, March 20th. So pretty much right after the world shut down. And here in Minnesota, I think our shutdown date was March 17th or 16th.
I think that was pretty much everybody's.
Yeah, I mean, right around there. I know there were parts of the country, California, New York, that were shutting down earlier. But that seemed to be mid-March was kind of the time for everybody. So I missed it completely. It's been fun to stumble across it again. It's on Freevee. It is free to watch. It's enjoyable. If you like Christian Kane, definitely check out Almost Paradise.
Awesome. So real quick correction, that is the A side, because you said it was the B side.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the A side. Yeah, I'm just bogarting your side as well now, because I went both letters. I went both letters on my name.
Oh, me. All right, so there you go. That's the A side. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Brooke.
I don't know why I said it like we're ending the episode, because we still have to do the B side. But
I was gonna say we still have to do the B side, unless you're gonna claim that I did both, because I claimed the initial.
Because you said it was the B side, and we're done. Thank you. And so you can follow us on all the socials. All right. This week, things are gonna. I know you like puzzles, Adam, because we had that one in the room. What was it? Room. Oh goodness, I'm trying to remember it was room.
I do like puzzles, though. We could just go with that. Yeah.
Yeah. This one's gonna be twisty-turny this week. Try to keep up.
Okay, do my best.
On March 23rd of 1994, there's a medical examiner, and his name is Don Harper Mills. Don views the body of Ronald Opus, and he concludes that Ronald died from a gunshot wound to the head. It was a shotgun shot that ended up taking Ronald's life.
Jeez,
investigation.
That's more than just a gunshot. That's that's a mess.
That's a big dog.
I was gonna say from the books that I have read, not written.
Investigation into Ronald's death reveals that Ronald had actually jumped from the top of a 10-story building with the intent to unalive himself.
Yes.
He left a note indicating the fact that he planned to do this, and just that he was
Seems pretty cut and dry.
Yeah. Things in life were just not going the way he wanted. So as he passes he jumps from the 10th floor. As he passes the 9th floor on the way down, there's a shotgun blast through the window. That shotgun blast hits Ronald in the head, kills him instantly.
So he was committing unalive, but
you
he
can
actually
say it.
got killed before.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if we were avoiding the word.
No, he was trying to take his
suicide.
own life. Yes, he's trying to take his own life.
Yeah.
And as he's
and on the way there, someone killed him.
As he jumps, there's a shotgun blast that had nothing to do with him at all. And it just so happened that that shotgun blast, when it goes through the window, it's just perfect timing. It hits him.
I mean, from a karma standpoint, or how it has been explained to me through growing up in the church, dude got a get out of jail free card on the way down.
Well, Ronald had no idea that a safety net had been erected on the 8th floor to protect window washers, which meant that him having jumped from the 10th floor would not have been able to take his own life.
It would have been real awkward. You just would have been on the safety net being like, hey guys,
hey, can somebody come get me? He didn't know that, nor did the shooter. Obviously, they wouldn't have been concerned with that because, well, they weren't intending, I'm sure, to kill someone. So ordinarily, when a person sets out to take their own life and they succeed, even if the mechanism might not be what they intended, it's defined as suicide. That's what would be on the medical examiner's report.
Right, because he jumped with the intention of ending his life, and just the details, which on a karmic standpoint probably worked in his favor, as it has been explained to me. But
so, like, you take pills, but then you end up drowning. Your intent was still the same, even though
right. But you wouldn't like charge the bathtub,
right? The fact that he was shot 9 stories into the fall doesn't really change the mode from suicide to homicide, but the fact that the suicide would not have been achieved due to the fact that they had put in that safety net changes the circumstances.
So because the net was there, now we can charge the guy with murder. But if the net wasn't there, it still would have been suicide.
Right. If he had taken his own life, even if somehow he had jumped and then, on the way down hit his head, even though whatever, if it was his fault, it's still suicide. But because he would not have been able to take his own life, the fact that now he is deceased, it's murder. It's a homicide. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the medical examiner has now decided, okay, circumstances have changed. We have a homicide on our hands. Further investigation, there's a discovery that on the 9th floor, the room where the shotgun blast came from, there was an elderly man and his wife. He had been threatening her with a shotgun during a spouse. They were having this intermarital spouse, and he became so upset.
Spat, you mean?
What did I say?
You said spouse.
Yeah, his spouse. Interspousal spat. There.
Spat, yeah.
And so he's like, they're arguing. He picks up the shotgun and he's pointing at her. He's threatening her. He's so upset he can't hold it straight. And so when he pulled the trigger, he misses his wife completely. The shotgun pellets go through the window and they strike Ronald Opus. This elderly man intends to kill his wife. He ends up killing Ronald. Of course, the police, when they investigate, they explain to him what happened. Both he and his wife are stating that he didn't even know that the gun was loaded, that this is like a routine for them. They constantly get into arguments. He's constantly pointing this shotgun at her and threatening her.
It was Wednesday night shotgun fight.
Pretty much. Yeah. This is typical. They both say he was never actually going to try to kill her. Like, he never intended to truly kill her. It's just weird marriage play they have.
Just one of those things.
So it's a complete accident. This shooting is a complete accident. The fact that the gun was even loaded, they don't even know how it was loaded because they never keep it loaded. Mm-hmm. Well, then there's more investigation, and it turns up that there's a witness that said that their son had been seen loading the shotgun about 6 weeks prior to this incident. The investigation showed that the couple, more specifically the mother, had cut off their son's financial support. And their son, knowing the fact that their father loved to do this Wednesday night shotgun play, pick up the
Wednesday night shotgun fight. Yeah.
And Wednesday night shotgun fight, and pick up the gun, thinking it's not loaded, and pointing it at his wife, Mabel, how dare you? Earl, put down the gun, whatever.
Yeah. I like that. Or it became a country song.
So the son loads the gun with the expectation that the father is going to do the Wednesday night shotgun fight, pull the trigger, and shoot his mother. So now the case becomes murder on the part of the son in the death
conspiracy
of Ronald Opus.
Okay.
Now, are you ready for your twist? Even more of a twist?
More, I was going to say another twist?
Even more of a twist? The investigation reveals that said son that loaded shotgun because he knew of the parents' Wednesday night shotgun fight was in fact Ronald Opus.
So Ronald accidentally killed himself?
Mm-hmm. Ronald had become upset because his mother had cut him off. And apparently he had attempted to take his mother's life and it had failed. This led him to jump off the 10-story building on March 23rd, only to be killed by a shotgun blast out of the 9th-story window. So the medical examiner closes the case as a suicide.
Wow. Did Ronald live in the same apartment with his parents?
Apparently.
Okay, because I was like, maybe this is just like a reason you don't live one story up above from your parents.
This story has taken the internet by storm. It's been ever since medical examiner Don Harper Mills told this story at the American Academy of Forensic Sciences speech. It kind of have just taken on a life of its own.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it as you're telling it, it sounds like a riddle that you would have to solve to get out of it, like a escape room or something.
Here's another twist. Don Harper Mills actually told this story at a banquet in 1987. It is a completely fictional story. But
of course.
But the reason he told it, and the reason that we're actually talking about on the B side, is his whole purpose of telling this story was to show how different legal consequences can follow each twist in a homicide inquiry. So it's never just as plain cut and dry as you may think it is the point.
That makes sense. I mean, using it as object lesson of why we shouldn't jump to conclusions. It's kind of brilliant.
It is, in fact, a brilliant story, and it very, very accurately justifies his point that you just cannot jump to conclusions, and you really do have to do your research and your investigation.
I mean, because otherwise, if no one had done research, they either would have just assumed it was a suicide, or charged his father with murder, or charged his dad with attempted murder and murder. When it really turned out it was all just I don't know what the appropriate word for it is, but the bad actor in this entire scenario is the same dude.
Yeah. And this is, as wild as it seems, we've heard stranger things that happen.
Like, yeah, like it sounded convoluted, but also like everything that we talk about in this podcast often sounds convoluted and hard to believe. So, I mean, honestly, that sounded less hard to believe than the details behind the shooting on set that involved Alec
Baldwin. Yeah.
This story... there were less mess ups in your story than there was in that.
Yeah. This story was actually reported as true for many years until Don Harper was interviewed again, and he's like, no, this is not a factual story. I know it's great. Thank you, everybody, for the attention and for spreading it, but it's not true. It's actually been talked about in popular culture a lot. There's a TV series called Homicide, and it was featured on the episode called Shaggy Dog, City Goat. It's season 10, episode 11.
Mm-hmm. Was this Homicide: Life on the Street, the '90s like Law and Order spinoff?
Nope, just the original Homicide.
Okay.
Law and Order, which I know you like.
Yep.
District Attorney Ben Stone offers a hypothetical example of a man who jumps off the Empire State Building because he wants a ham sandwich, and he's shot on the way down by someone who thought he was committing suicide. On Law and Order season 13, episode 18, it's called Maritime. Medical examiner Elizabeth Rogers talks about a man that jumps off a building and is shot by a bullet on the way down. And the medical examiner couldn't decide whether to rule it suicide or homicide.
I mean, it's a great thought experiment.
The 1999 film Magnolia, which is written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, although his version, some parts of the story are changed, several details are added to give more consistency to the plot.
That was a Nicolas Cage movie where he was first starting his attempt into more serious film.
Magnolia is?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, okay.
Look.
There's a CSI episode, CSI Miami. The episode's called Spring Breakdown. A man's pushed off a building and was shot by a flare gun on the way down.
Yeah, that's completely false because that was Tom Cruise and Philip Seymour Hoffman.
So. I was thinking it was Tom Cruise, but I mean, I haven't seen it, so I don't know. So there's lots and lots of references to this, and it has been deemed, it is not a true story. It is 100% made up. Don Harper Mills, what a great storyteller. But just again, to show the complexities of an investigation of a case.
Oh, and a brilliant way to do it as well. So I was thinking of Adaptation, which also has a flower on the poster, but it stars Nicolas Cage. Totally different.
All right. So I thought, well, you know what, just to kind of change things up a little bit, we would do that. And I didn't think we would have like an actual case to talk about, but then some news happened, and I did want to just bring some attention to this real quick. It's Ajaki AJ Owens. She's a 35-year-old mom in Florida, and she has a neighbor who, this woman is just allegedly, because I'm not there, was hurling racial slurs at her children, and just, yelling nasty things outside at her children that are playing outside. And this has been going on for like several years. And so Ajaki's children are outside playing, and she ends up throwing like a pair of skates at one of them. And then she steals the iPad of her son and takes it in her house. So Ajaki goes and knocks on her door, obviously to try to get this iPad back. And this woman, her name is Susan Lawrence. Susan Lawrence fires through the door, shooting Ajaki. Unfortunately, this was something that, like I said, was several years in the making. Since January of 2021, apparently deputies have responded at least a half a dozen times to this feud between Ajaki and Susan Lawrence. So she shoots through the door.
Bad blood between neighbors. Yeah.
So she shoots through the door, and she kills 35-year-old Ajaki. And she was like taken into custody, processed, and released. Later that night, she's on her deck drinking her sweet tea. She has been arrested as of today. She has been arrested. The sheriff of Marion County posted a video of Susan doing the perp walk. She has been arrested. She's been charged with manslaughter. Of course, a lot of people are like, well, why hasn't she been charged with murder? The way it works is they're going to hit you with the charges that they think that you can get you convicted on. So they could end up eventually tacking on additional charges, but right now they believe they can get her convicted on manslaughter. So that's what they're charging her with.
It's like a charge her with. Now, and was she trying to shoot her?
No, she's just trying to shoot. She's trying to shoot Ajaki.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like a suicide gone wrong. She just full on just shot through the door.
No, she full on shot through the door.
Disgruntled neighbor.
In an attempt to kill this neighbor. She initially tried to say that it was self-defense, but you're shooting through a door.
Yeah. I mean, that's not really, you're not really in danger. The door's still closed.
Right. And you're hurling slurs and you're throwing skates at children.
Yeah. Some of these, like, I feel like every year in almost every state, I know it's happened here every couple of years, you'll have this story about these, like, neighbor disputes can get so ugly.
Especially when you're a racist piece of garbage, allegedly.
Yes. And it doesn't seem like the authorities can do much until it comes to something like a shooting.
Well,
But
here's
the
the
verbal
thing,
stuff,
though. How do you arrested her, you processed her, and then you released her? She murdered someone. And if it
how are
hadn't
you
been
out 12 hours later?
Yeah, if it had not been for socials like TikTok and Twitter and everybody getting on there and saying, hey, this woman needs to be arrested, who knows if it ever would have happened.
Yeah, it's like those guys in Georgia that thought they were tracking down a criminal. It just killed someone out of the blue because they looked like somebody else. A couple of years ago, like, the guys claimed that they were chasing somebody, and it turned out they just like found a guy who was jogging and killed him.
Oh, Ahmaud Arbery. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. I'm horrible with names. But
Ahmaud Arbery, when not only did they chase him down, they cornered him, and I'm glad they all are where they need to be, life in prison.
But that was another one where it seemed like it took a while to.
Yeah, if their video had not been released, they would have gotten off scot-free.
Yeah.
So, whatever you can say about social media, the ills of social media, it does accomplish things. And, it is forcing people to do their jobs that they should be doing anyway.
It's a tool like anything else. It can be used inappropriately, and it can be used to help do the right thing.
So hopefully we will see justice served for Ajaki, and unfortunately there is no real true justice because she's not coming back, but the fact that this woman has been arrested and hopefully she will be convicted, it's moving in the right direction.
And maybe this is a Pollyanna knock-on effect hope, but hopefully a story like this will stop people from fighting over stupid stuff with their neighbors.
Oh, and being racist pieces of garbage. That's the most important part here. Yeah. Stop being racist pieces of garbage. Allegedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The more attention they can be drawn to it, maybe it will give people a second thought about what they're doing.
Unfortunately, it probably won't. But
it probably won't.
Hopefully it will lead to more people receiving the consequences that they deserve.
Fair. Yeah.
But there you go. That is the very convoluted, very emotional B-side today.
No, I like like I said, I felt like one of those riddles that you would tell like a sleepover when you're, because it seemed so convoluted. Like, oh, there's this dwarf that was found dead in a tent, but there's all these tiny wood shavings. What happened? And then you're like, what? And we got to piece this together. So from a lot.
Did you just say tiny dwarf? Did you really just say that?
I said there was a dwarf that was found dead in a tent, and then there were these tiny wood shavings.
You mean as in like Snow White?
No, this was one that taunted me for like 2 years, and I finally had to like beg a friend to explain it to me. So this dwarf evidently had like, and that was literally all the information I was given. You had to like ask questions, and he was in the circus, and there was a competing dwarf that was trying to convince him that he was growing and he was going to grow out of being a dwarf. So he kept shaving little inches off of his cane, so it looked like it made the dwarf feel like he was getting taller. So he eventually killed himself because he wasn't going to be a dwarf anymore.
I'm totally making fun of you because you're using the term dwarf and not little person.
Oh, yes. I did not realize you were doing that, but that is an inappropriate thing to do. That's why. I'm just going back to this riddle that stumped me for like 2 years when I was in high school, that I have, emotional connection to. And I still remember it being told to me in my parents' basement and how I did not get it. And it drove me nuts for 2 years. So I'm holding on to the language that we used at that time, 1997. And it's not appropriate for this time and age.
I gotcha. All right. Well, there you go. That is the B-side. And that is episode 138.
And if you'd like to find out more information about either the A side or the B side, go to our website, asidebsidepodcast.square.site. On there, we'll have links to all of our sources for each week for the A side or the B side. You can also find links to all of the streaming platforms. So if you listen to us on one streaming platform, say Amazon Music or Spotify, and you're looking at making a change, or you just want to help us out and you want to click on those links and subscribe to us on all of them, that would be great. They're all on there. Also, merchandise is on there. Check that out. You can buy Brooke a coffee so she can stay awake and edit this when she has to get up at like 4 a.m. for the morning show. So that's very helpful. And you can also find all 139 other episodes on our website as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you, Brooke.